So it looks like Andrew Tate went to the Piers Morgan show for some smoke. So let's get active.
Well, this summer, every major social media platform banned Tate amid a global backlash and concerns about his influence on the young people who watch him. But copies of his videos are still shared millions of times every day. This show is called Uncensored. One of the challenges views directly, so he flew from Romania to sit here in this studio, and the full explosive interview airs later this week. Here's a bit of what's to come. Do you respect women?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't I?
Do you think that 18, 19-year-old women are more attractive than 25-year-old women?
I think there's attractive people. That's a loaded question. I don't know.
Well, it's not really, is it?
I can't.
You know why I'm asking you?
Of course I do, but I can't sit
Well,
here and
for
say.
the benefit of viewers who don't know why I'm asking, you said this. In general, this is also one of the reasons men find youth attractive. You want to blow up the internet? I'll blow up the internet right effing now. The reason 18 and 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25-year-olds is because they've been through less dick. People say, oh, you can't say that, but yes, I can. A 19-year-old is more attractive than a 26-year-old woman, and I'll tell you why. Because that 26-year-old has talked to more guys, been to the club more times, been effed and dumped more times, more arguments, more mess, more for me to clean up. That is misogyny.
Why?
No, it's not.
Because you are encouraging a mindset about 25-year-old women that makes them sound out to be infinitely less desirable than 18, 19-year-olds, and having effectively been having too much sex to be taken in a more respectful way.
That's not misogyny.
Well, firstly, even if that was the case, that wouldn't be misogyny.
Well, what did you mean by what you said?
That's not misogyny because it's not anti-women. I'm saying that an 18 or a 19-year-old woman would be more desirable.
Pretty anti-25-year-old women.
Anti-25-year-old women we can argue, but not misogyny.
Well, that's misogyny then, isn't it?
No, it's not.
No, it's
Being
not.
anti any woman at all is misogyny.
Not when I'm...
Pay attention to what he said. Anti-woman at all is misogyny. That's not true. This is the damn issue. If you criticize any component of woman, it is deemed as anti-woman. So if I criticize any component of the employees that work up to me, does that mean that I'm anti-employee? No. This is the issue right here. Let's keep going though.
Not when I'm saying that women are beautiful and attractive at a certain age and saying the age.
You're saying 18, 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25.
Well, than ageist, perhaps, but misogynistic, absolutely
Is that
not.
but you just accepted it was misogyny.
No, I didn't. You said it was misogyny. I'm telling you, no, it's not.
If a 26-year-old woman is watching this and has heard those comments,
Yeah.
would you just say to her, look, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that?
No, I won't. I will say that I am sorry that that offends you. However, there's a large contingent of the world.
That doesn't mean you're sorry.
No, I'm not sorry. That's the point I'm making. I'm sorry if that offends you. However, there's a large contingent of the world that believe that, and I was mediating for a conversation.
Parts of the world that believe that about 26-year-old women are parts of the world where women are not allowed out on their own.
That's a conversation.
They have to wear full burqas.
Well, that's a conversation.
They're not allowed to drive cars.
That's nothing to do with me.
But is that the kind of world for a woman that you?
I was mediating a conversation.
No, I'm asking you what you think.
I don't live in a country where that happens.
You're using that as the excuse for why you're not sorry for saying it.
It's not an excuse.
Is that there are parts of the world where this is fine?
My friend.
So my question to you is, well, do you think it's fine?
This is super disingenuous. To just say that certain portions of the world value less lewd women, more modest women, and then equate that to oppressive patriarchal societies is fallacious as hell. In all societies, since the beginning of time, virgin wives were more valued than the village bicycle. Andrew didn't create this and poof, all of these men just follow Andrew because he says these types of things. Evolution created this. Pre-antibiotics, if you were to have unprotected sex to a young bicycle, then you might get an STI, which may end up being a death sentence. Or if you are having sex with a young woman that is known for being promiscuous, then truth be told, you won't know if you are the father of her child. But if you call out these very logical conclusions, then you get labeled as a misogynist? Holy moly.
I don't think it's fine. I live in a world where...
You don't think it's fine?
The reason
This isn't that hard, Andrew. You can simply say, Piers, you know what? With the benefit of hindsight, I wish I hadn't said it like that.
Are you going to let him talk?
If a 26-year-old woman's watching, I'm sorry I said that, because that actually is blatantly misogynist. And even though that's a view held by other parts of the world, it's not a view I share. Now, I would respect you more if you said that than if you try and say, well, it's said in other parts of the world, so I'm not sorry.
I think
that doesn't tell me what you think.
Then you need to understand why my content existed in the first place. My content existed because I tried my very hardest to be an absolute and utter realist, especially with uncomfortable truths. I was pointing out that very uncomfortable...
Is that a truth? Then?
It's an uncomfortable truth in many parts of the world. It's not a truth that I'm happy about.
An inquest this week found that a 14-year-old girl, Molly Russell,
Wait a minute.
died from an act of
I was pointing out that very uncomfortable.
Is that a truth?
It's an uncomfortable truth in many parts of the world. It's not a truth that I'm happy about.
An inquest.
They're not even gonna let him finish his answer during this preview. A lot of this is just to generate a lot of views to show that Piers Morgan and his existing audience want to see Andrew fail. So they're going to cut off certain portion like that where Andrew may have had a good answer back. But anyway, let's get to this next portion, which was edited in.
This week found that a 14-year-old girl, Molly Russell, died from an act of self-harm while suffering from depression and the negative effects of online content. The coroner said she was exposed to material that may have influenced her in a negative way, and in addition, was followed with depression and become a much more serious depressive illness, and she very sadly took her life.
That's absolutely disgusting.
Right. Her father,
terrible.
Her father's campaign for better protections against potentially dangerous social media algorithms, right? It says that the particularly graphic content she saw romanticized acts of self-harm, normalized her condition, and focused on a limited and irrational view without any counterbalance of normality. First of all, what is your response to that? Nothing to do with you.
That's the first thing. Yeah, it is nothing to do with me. The fact that a 14-year-old girl took her life is truly sad. The world we live in today is the world we live in. The fact that something like that happened is almost mind-blowing to me. That's truly sad. I actually feel sad inside to see something like that.
What has come clear to me in the interview is that a lot of things you say you wouldn't say now that you've said before.
I'd say them differently, perhaps.
Yeah, right. So to me, that's an acceptance, not just that you want to get back on platforms, because maybe that was one of the reasons you were no platform, but that you've recognized and understood the potential harm to the wrong kind of impressionable mind by some of the things you've said. Would that be fair?
What they're doing is very dirty. It's very disingenuous to juxtapose this story regarding this young girl and what happened to her because she was exposed to self-harm content. And then in this edit, not to let Andrew fully answer, and then to juxtapose a part of the interview where he's talking through how he would change some of his words because how it is received by people later is, honestly, from a media perspective, it's genius because it's going to get a lot more people to watch the content. But I just think that it's dirty the way that they do that. I mean, this is the issue with mainstream media that we talk about so often. Are they really going to represent your points uninterrupted, unedited? And from Piers, it seems like no.
I think that's 80% fair. I recognize and understand that with massive fame,
yes,
you have to be more careful about being misconstrued.
I just said
earlier, 1% of people misunderstanding you doesn't matter with a small audience. It matters with a very large audience.
Facts.
With power comes responsibility.
Yes.
I still believe the things I say. I do not want to be a negative force for the world. I also understand that I am a man who's lived a very difficult, nuanced life, and I am capable of making nuanced points that may be misunderstood by teenagers. However, that can be said about anybody and everything. Every opinion online can be misunderstood by children. Trying to protect children from the internet is a very interesting subject in and of itself, because I would argue that 80% of the content on the internet can be negative or detrimental to a young mind that doesn't understand the world.
It could be. Okay, that's it. Let's share some thoughts right now. First things first, just as I touched on a second ago, it is really out of pocket to bring up that young girl's demise in an attempt to vilify Andrew Tate. We do not know the exact type of content that she was consuming. So in the edit here, to juxtapose that with saying that he wish he can walk back his words is unfair, or to correlate that he had something to do with her untimely demise is just a bit weird. She could have been looking at content that would compare herself to the surgically Kim Kardashian hipped body of these women up on the internet and felt less happy or joyous regarding herself. But see, that part of the media gets to ride freely without a correct assessment of the detriment that might be having on little girls' mind as well. What's actually happening here is that you have the difference of talking points from two different generations. You have Piers' generation, where women were more so known for being admired and respected. And you have Andrew's generation, which much more is this modern definition where it's anything but. Where young women today could just have many sexual partners as they want. They could be as free, as liberated as they want. They can live in their truth as much as they want, while at the same time promoting this men ain't ish, men are dogs. But if modern men today give criticism to that behavior and say, hey, listen, the way that this is coming across is going to lead to less marriages because you guys are of less marriageable material. We're signing up the same marriage contract as we did years ago, but for less valuable women than our forefathers did, or the men in Piers Morgan's generation were exposed to. Then you get labeled anti-woman, then you get labeled misogynistic, when the funny shit is that there's women that promote the same thing of Andrew Tate's or myself's talking point as well. Truthfully, if you sat down and you had a conversation with him and say, hey, listen, would you prefer a woman with 1,000 bodies or a woman with not even just virgin, let's say less than 5, which, you know, should be somewhat normal in a young 20-year-old woman? Do you really think that he would equate the young 20-year-old with 1,000 bodies to the same thing of a woman with 5? No. But check this. Andrew Tate actually admitted, and I'm happy that Piers Morgan pressed him on this particular topic because it allowed us to see Andrew's views on this platform. But Andrew admitted that some of his words were reckless and irresponsible. This is the same thing that I just said in a video that I uploaded entitled "Live Streaming Killed the Manosphere." One of his comments that actually in the beginning of all of this, I didn't actually play it because I thought I was going to get the video demonetized, is Andrew was talking about men with depression. And at a way lower level of influence, he articulated that he doesn't believe that mental health issues or depression actually exist. And I think that that is super dangerous. There's some men out there whose brains are sick, similar to if you get pneumonia, your lungs get sick, but they're in a mental health crisis where their mind is sick and they need intervention from professionals in order to get them in a better stage of life. If I was to sit down and have a one-on-one conversation with Andrew, I bet you that'd be one of the statements that he would walk back. But again, you can say these type of things when you have no degree and level of influence, when only a couple of people are listening to you. You can gain a certain niche or an audience within the things that you're saying. But once you get mainstream like that, components of your message have to be articulated extremely well, because people will make life decisions based off the things that you say. And if a young man is mentally not there anymore and he needs help and he thinks that that's the solution, then it may lead to him not ever getting help for a serious medical condition. All in all, I think for people that hate Andrew Tate already are going to side with Piers Morgan here, and those that ride for Andrew Tate are going to side with Andrew. I just hope that the entire interview is not as disrespectful as what we just witnessed here right now. And shout out to Andrew for displaying stoicism during those barrage of interview questions that, from the way that it was displayed, looks disrespectful to me, but he seemed to handle himself in a decent, respectful, and a courteous way. And I think that that was a good thing for young men to be able to see on how to handle when people's hitting you with stuff based off of your belief system. But what do you guys think? Do you guys agree or disagree with the things that I or Andrew was saying? Leave them down in the comment box down below, and let's get this conversation kicked off. I think this one should be a dope discussion. Until next time, YouTube, peace.